Hello, good evening everyone. Welcome to the News Today edition of 30th of August. So before starting, I am pretty sure that all of you must have seen the UPSC GS papers which was recently conducted. And one thing which was clearly visible was how many of the questions, specifically in paper number 2 and 3 of GS, were inspired from current affairs. So that again re-emphasizes this whole idea that again how important current affairs integration with the static part is very much important given the nature of questions which UPSC has been asking in both prelims as well as mains examinations. So again, please be focused. Please read current affairs on a daily basis. That is, of course, going to help you a lot in terms of your prelims and mains examination. So let's look at the important news which we are going to cover today. A recent RBI bulletin has talked about horticulture diversification, which is going to be a pathway to agricultural resilience. The two new judges' appointments bring Supreme Court to full bench strength of 34 judges. United Nations Developmental Programme has released a report securing rights and enabling futures. Parliamentary committees are backbone of parliamentary democracy as discussed by Lok Sabha Speaker. And India and Japan has sealed a multiple pacts and vision plan for the next decade in the 50th India-Japan Annual Summit. We are also going to cover personality is news, that is Major Dhyan Chand, along with quick updates for the day. So the very first news, again, in the recent RBI bulletin, it has discussed about the idea of horticulture, right, which is going to be a very much area where again we need a lot of exploration, and again this is going to be something which is talking about the idea of making agriculture resilient. So that has been the idea. Again, very important for your GS paper number 3 under the topics of cropping patterns, agricultural marketing and pricing. So let's look at what do we understand by horticulture. Whenever we think of agriculture, what comes to your mind? So cereals, grains, right? So again, horticulture is one such section in agriculture which deals with growing of fruits, vegetables, or maybe called as decorative plants, right, or ornamental plants. So these are something which are coming under the domain of horticulture, and India has been the second largest in terms of horticulture sector, followed by China. That emphasizes the importance which this sector has in terms of contribution to the overall agricultural economy. That has been highlighted in this RBI bulletin report, right? That is a major idea. Again, it consists of fruits, vegetable, flowers, spices, medicinal plants. All of those come under horticulture department or horticulture section in agriculture. What exactly, and this committee has told that what exactly are the reasons why do we need to diversify our horticulture sector because of the recent demands what we have seen. It has told, number one, that in terms of contribution to the agriculture or to the farmer's income, it has been contributing 33% to the overall farmer's income in terms of gross value addition. That in fact emphasizes its importance with respect to its contribution to the farmer's income, right? And then in terms of, again, with the growing lifestyle, and again, how much we have been talking about a good lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle, and food is very important component in the lifestyle. So this is where many fruits and vegetables have a lot of macro and micronutrients. So again, with the changing lifestyle, people thinking a lot about their health, there has been increase in consumption of fruits and vegetables. That is again emphasizing that again why it is very much important to diversify this particular sector. And lastly, one major problem in agricultural sector is what? Farmers have very small land holding, and this small land holding leads to what? Less amount of contribution or less amount of productivity. But the amount of land what the farmer has, that is not reciprocating in the terms of its income which it can generate. So this is where horticulture is one major component where again these small farmers who have small amount of land, they can shift to this particular horticulture sector. And again, many small farmers have been doing that. Due to what? Because the increasing demand of this particular sector. So these are the recent trends when we talk about horticulture sector. Then what are the problems or challenges with respect to horticulture sector in the agricultural domain? Number one, we have yield fluctuation. In the idea, what we all call as how much productive these are with respect to growth, right? So again, we have found there are these horticultural products, their yield is very less in terms of some crops like grapes, sapota have seen declining yields over the decades. Then post-harvest losses. And this is one major thing because horticulture is very perishable in nature. Fruits, if you buy fruits, if you buy vegetables, if you're not refrigerating them, so you understand that again how they are easily, how they easily gets rotten. So this is an idea that is very perishable kind of items which are there in this horticultural sector. But India does not have enough amount of storage facilities or cold storage facilities, right? That has been one major reason that again it is leading to a post-harvest loss, and it is somewhere amounting to 1.5 trillion, which is lost every year due to the post-harvest losses. And lastly, price volatility. Again, we are in monsoon season. All of you know that again how the prices of tomatoes and let's say onions have been rising. Because there are a lot of these horticultural fruits and vegetables whose prices fluctuate along with seasons. The prices of tomatoes is very high now, but once we are entering into the season of winters, again the price is going to drop substantially. So that is again re-emphasizing this whole idea that again we are, or this horticultural sector has the prices is very much volatile and they are hugely dependent on the seasons. That has been one major challenge. So again, it is hurting both farmers and consumers at the very same time. Then what can be done? What this report has told in order to diversify this horticulture sector, what are the steps we can take? Number one, better market linkage. So again, who are the end consumers of these products? We, people living in urban areas or people living in rural areas, right? So this is where linkage, market linkage. So again, farm to the consumer, that has a link has to be built up with this better market linkages, which is of course helping the farmers of these horticultural products to sell directly to the consumers through platforms or connecting them to the export market and reducing the whole idea of middlemen in between. So that has been one major suggestion. Then we have intercropping. As we have seen that again these are very volatile in nature. They are hugely dependent on the seasons, which is making farmers less encouraging to grow these horticultural crops. So again, intermix it with, and it is going to have a lot of benefits. Number one, with mixing fruit and vegetables with other crops, it is going to be of course securing the or maybe helping farmer to navigate the price volatility, number one. Number two, it is also with the intermixing of crops, it is also going to lead to better soil health and of course extra income for the farmers. Then we have research and innovation, because with the growing idea of climate change and how it has been impacting agricultural sector. So again, research and development has to be done in order to make this horticultural sector climate resilient. And lastly, agro-processing industries. So very much we understand again farm to fork. So we are having food processing industry. So again, that industry has to be diversified, that has to be expanded. For example, let's say apples are manufactured, again a horticultural product. Why not to link it directly these products, or apple is going to a factory or a food processing industry which is producing jams, right? Or any other products like tomatoes are going to a factory which is directly producing it in the form of tomato ketchups. So this has been the idea with respect to integrating with respect to agro-processing industries. It is of course going to create a lot of things. Not just it is going to stop the problem of the losses, it is also going to help in terms of creating job, because food processing industries is going to of course create a lot of jobs, and it is going to boost export of the products which are being made. So this is something what has been discussed by RBI in its recent bulletin with respect to horticulture products. Then around in India, as of now, there have been few initiatives taken up by the government in this particular horticulture sector. Number one is Mission for Integrated Development of Horticulture 2014, which is again a central scheme which talks about how we are going to make this whole sector a growth-based sector. Then we have Cluster Development Program. What is cluster development? If I talk about mangoes, or if I talk about, let's say, oranges, what comes to your mind? Nagpur oranges, right? Or Nasik grapes. This is an idea of cluster development program. So some regions maybe excel, or they have natural conditions which are very favorable for few of these horticultural products. So again, why to maybe grow apples everywhere in India? Why not to some specific area which has all natural conditions favorable for that particular product? Himachal apples, Nasik grapes, that has been the idea with respect to cluster development program. Then we have coordinated program on horticulture assessment and management using geoinformatics. That is the whole idea of using of GI based technology in order to see that again per hectare what is the yield of these horticulture products, and again maybe integration of technology in this horticultural sector. And lastly, we have Clean Plant Program for high quality planting materials. So again, the raw materials, the good amount of good quality of seeds, climate resilient plants, all of these are the idea which are coming under this Clean Plant Program, which is of course going to be delivering high quality and clean horticultural products. So these are the few initiatives with respect to horticulture sector in India. Any question which has been asked by UPSC? Yes. In 2018, there was a question around this particular topic. Assess the role of National Horticulture Mission in boosting the production, productivity and income of horticulture farmers. We have seen that again how it can be done through the suggestions which this RBI bulletin has discussed. How far has it succeeded in increasing the income of farmers? This is something you can discuss in introduction around the contemporary theme, that again how 33% of farmers' income have been there from this horticultural sector, and all of the topics what we have discussed over here could be integrated in this particular answer. Whenever I show this kind of questions to you, it's your responsibility that again once you have read the topic, don't hesitate. Pick out a piece of paper, attempt and write that answer there and there itself. That is something which is going to create a discipline in terms of writing down the answers and help you a lot in the examination preparation process. The next topic, so again very important, this was somewhere asked by UPSC in this year mains examination in GS paper number 2 as well, this topic of whole Collegium system of appointment. So recently 2 new judges have been appointed by Supreme Court, which has made this strength of Supreme Court to its full capacity. So again, one question to you, who has an authority to increase the number of seats in Supreme Court? Initially we had 7 judges and 1 CGI. Currently we are having maximum of 34 judges, 33 judges and 1 CGI. So again, Parliament has a power in order to increase or decrease the strength of Supreme Court judges or the composition of Supreme Court. Again, our topic important for examination in prelims as well as in mains examination pertaining to the subtopic of judiciary in paper number 2. What exactly is this collegium system? So again, initially collegium basically means that during the appointment of judiciary, there has to be consultation which has to be done, and consultation through a group of members, and that system is basically called as collegium system. So it is just like a panel of senior judges who are recommending names for the new judges. In case of Supreme Court, very, very, very important, sir. In case of Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of India is consulting 4 senior most judges of Supreme Court during the appointment process, number 1. In case of High Court judges, we have a little difference. That is the CGI, not the Chief Justice of High Court. The CGI is consulting the 2 senior most judges of Supreme Court, not 4 here. So that's the difference between appointment of judges in case of High Courts and Supreme Court. Here, Collegium consists of CGI plus 4 senior most judge. Here we have a Collegium of CGI plus 2 senior most judges of Supreme Court. Very, very, very important, right? So, and again, final appointment, the names are recommended to the President of India, and President finally appoints these judges under Article 124 in case of Supreme Court and 217 in the cases of High Court. Very simple. And again, the whole idea of independence of judiciary, which is coming under the basic structure of Indian Constitution, has been there. And again, we wanted that again, if judiciary has to work independently, there has to be no interference by executive or the legislative organs of the government in its appointment process. That is how they are going to work in an independent manner. And there are a lot of provisions in the Constitution which has made sure that judiciary is working independently. Tell me in comments what are the different provisions in the Constitution which is making the functioning of judiciary in an independent manner. Then we are going to briefly discuss the whole system of Collegium, because this was there in this year's examination of UPSC mains very recently. So initially, how did the appointment process started? Till 1980s, the executive has a lot of say in the appointment process. How? That the executive, the president appointed the judges after consulting the Chief Justice of India. Okay? Then we had the first judge's case in 1981. It talked about ki if president is appointing the Chief Justice or the judges of Supreme Court, he is, of course, the CGI, Chief Justice of India, is going to give his consultation. Sir, we think this person is suitable to be appointed as a judge of Supreme Court. Clear? In this first judge's case, it was discussed that again, consultation is not equivalent to concurrence. That if the CGI is telling one name for a person to get him appointed as a Supreme Court judge, it is not mandatory for the president to accept that name. That is the idea of consultation, means only consulting. It does not mean concurrence. It is the president was not bounded to accept the name which was suggested by this CGI. This has led to one major other thing, that again, how executive had a say in the judicial appointment process. Then came the second judge's case in the year 1993, and this thing was changed. In order to function judiciary in an independent manner, the appointment process has to be completely immune from the executive as well as the legislature. So in this particular case, this change was made that if the president is consulting CGI and asking, sir, who is going to be the next judge of Supreme Court? So if CGI is sending the names of the person who he thinks could be appointed as the judge of Supreme Court, it means consultation, means concurrence, that the president was bound to accept the names which was suggested by this CGI. That is the idea of consultation with concurrence. And in this, one more thing was added, that is not going to be only CGI who is only going to decide that again who is going to be the next judge. Again, it is going to be creating the idea of favoritism, right? So this was done, that again CGI should consult a collegium of 2 senior most judges or the 2 judges of Supreme Court. So this is where the collegium system started, through the second judge's case. Then came the third judge's case of 1998, that it was seen that again, why only 2 members? If collegium is there, so let's incorporate more opinion that who is going to be the next judge of Supreme Court. So the collegium system was expanded, and CGI is supposed to consult the 4 senior most judges of Supreme Court while suggesting name to the president for appointment of any judge of Supreme Court. And this is something which we have been following as of now. It went for a change. And again, the 99th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2014 made a change. So this National Judicial Appointment Commission, which was set up, it told that again, executive will have a say in the appointment process of judiciary. Now tell me, if any law is being made by a parliament which is against the provisions of constitution, and in fact, independence of judiciary is coming under a basic structure of Indian constitution. Pertaining to all those things, Supreme Court declared this law or this act as null and void because there was interference of executive in the appointment process of judiciary. This was the 4th judge's cases which was declared null and void by Supreme Court. Very important. These kind of questions could be there in an examination of prelims or in mains appointment process. And again, judiciary is something which was in news since last year for many such occasions. So the whole idea of accountability, the whole idea of corruption in judiciary, all of them was in news, and that made UPSC ask this question in examination. And Vision IS, through its multiple platforms, have talked about the whole idea of importance of judiciary as a topic. And again, there's a question. This year, this was a question. Discuss the evolution of Collegium system in India. We are going to discuss here what? The 3 judges' cases. We are also going to discuss about the 4 judges' cases. 4th judge's case. We are also going to talk about what happened before 1980s. Then, again, one more important theme of which was there in current affairs was what? The election of President of United States of America. That made importance of, because we have a subtopic of comparison of Indian constitution vis-a-vis other constitutions of the world. So again, USA as a country was in news because of the election of president. So again, the pardoning powers of president, its comparison with USA was there again in examination of this year. And also here, UPSC is not restricted only to the topic of judiciary. It also asked you to critically examine the advantages and disadvantages of system of appointment of judges of the Supreme Court of India and that of USA. That's a contemporary touch to a static topic. Clear? This is how you should be aware, and this is something which is going to guide you that which themes are important for my next upcoming examination. So it is something which is within you. If you study thoroughly, you can automatically guess that what topics are important for examination, both for prelims as well as for mains examination. The next topic, United Nations Developmental Programme has released a recent report with respect to securing rights and enabling future. Again, talking about the Forest Rights Act of this tribal people. So again, coming under GS paper number 2, the topic of social justice, vulnerable sections of society. What we have seen that again, tribal population has been there in India, and again, there is a lot of diversity in this tribal people. They speak a lot of languages, they have their own customs, they have their own traditions, and Indian constitution, once it was being made, the government back then respected these customs and traditions, and that is one of the reasons of non-implementation of uniform civil code was that again we did not wanted to impose something on these tribal people who have their own customs and own, let's say, traditions, which they can feel insecure. That again the government, the new country has been formed, and again new country is imposing some law on us on topics of marriage, on topics of, let's say, inheritance. We have their own customs, and that was respected. And that's the reason, one of the reasons of non-implementation of uniform civil code once the Constitution of India was being made. But we have seen that again, how these tribal people have been living in forest, they have been worshipping land. So with development, their rights over these forests was supposed to be recognized, and that's where we came with what we call as the Forest Rights Act in the year 2006. So again, talking about scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers, recognition of Forest Rights Act of 2006. And again, we are recognizing that yes, you have a right in the forest because you have been staying there from generations by generations. You have been sustaining on these kind of forests. You have been worshipping the lands, so you have a right over there. And that was recognized through this particular act. right? So because a lot of injustice have been done to these tribal people by not recognizing their rights over this forest, right? Then the aim was, of course, to secure land, livelihood, food security for scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers under this particular act. What are the challenges which has been seen, which this development UNDP report has highlighted? It has told, maybe imagine that again we have a class and again we have teachers. Students are reading, but once examination comes up, they fail in examination. And it is not the responsibility, and students not responsible, that again they have not studied, they have studied well. It is the failure of the system. It is the failure of the process of examination that is leading to failure of students in this examination. That's similarly what has been happening with respect to implementation of these Forest Rights Act. We have made a law. We have been recognizing the Forest Rights Act of this forest dwellers and the tribal population. But again, it has not reciprocated in the form of result. So what are the challenges that has been highlighted in this particular report? Number one, in terms of high rejection rates, that of course forest rights have been recognized, but due to procedural errors, due to lack of documents by these tribal people, they don't have documents that again I own this land, I have been staying in this land for let's say 20 years. And due to misinterpretation of provisions of the act, there has been challenges which has been seen in terms of its implementation, number one. Then in terms of recording of rights, poor land records, incomplete recognition, delays in claim settlements has been one reason that again why this successful implementation of this acts has not been done, because recently it has completed 20 years, going to complete 20 years. That is why this assessment has been done. Then in terms of post recognition issues, let's say I am a tribal person, my right has been recognized by this Forest Rights Act. What happens after that? And that is another issue, that difficulties in delineating community forest resources and weak formation of community forest resources management committees. What are these? That again, let's say my rights have been recognized. So again, many times we have been seeing the idea of community participation in this forests. So let's say there are 5 people and they are owning jointly a particular piece of land in the forest. So again, with poor land records, with poor documents, they cannot claim there that again, if this is a community area, what would be my share over it? That is something. And again, second problem is formation, because the Gram Sabhas are there, which needs to be incorporating this particular program. So there is a weak implementation with respect to the committee which is supposed to be formed in order to tackle these issues. Then we have institutional gaps, that both at central level and at state level, there is not enough number of people who are going to implement those. Poor coordination among departments, because Forest Rights Act requires coordination between forest, the revenue department, the tribal welfare department. So again, this is one reason in terms of capacity. And lastly, there are other issues, social barriers. Many times, these tribal people feel it harder to express. They have less knowledge, their literacy rate is less as compared to the national literacy rate. So again, they are not very vocal, they are not very aware about their rights. Uneven implementation across states. Some states have implemented well, some states have not implemented well. Then again, Gram Sabhas have not fully integrated into the decision making. So these are the few challenges which has been discussed by this report with respect to Forest Rights Act implementation. It has also given us some suggestions. What are those? Number one, universal recognition of this Forest Rights Act. That again, these Forest Right Act, if it is recognizing some people who have a claim over it, it is telling you create it as a distinct group and integrate it with all social protection and livelihood schemes which are being run for these tribal people or in general as well. Then we have dedicated funding. because we have seen that again some schemes require funding for its implementation. So a dedicated funding should be given in order to implement this Forest Rights Act, because we have seen a lot of capacity issues with respect to the implementation challenges what we have discussed. Then we have livelihood integration. Your responsibility does not stop by only recognizing the rights. You are going to integrate it with the current programs run at a very ground level. For example, the National Rural Livelihood Mission. Then again, in terms of promoting gender-sensitive livelihood opportunities, for example, including women also, because tribal people have been discriminated. And in fact, within them, there is another discrimination factor of gender, on the basis of gender. So all of these things has to be recognized. Then sunset clause, very, very, very important. And that is something which government should do for many of the programs in order for its effective implementation. That set a limit, that this is the cutoff time till we are going to implement and give all recognition with respect to forest rights to all these tribal people and other forest dwellers, right? Then in terms of post-right support, once you have given the support, once you have recognized the rights, it does not stop. Again, an example of, we talk about equality, equity, and empowerment. What is equality? Everyone should be treated equally, but we have another provision of equal protection of law. Equals should be treated equally. Tribal people have been subjugated to a lot of discrimination. So of course, they cannot be treated as a common, to a common man in the country. There has to be some positive upliftment which has to be given to them. And that has been done through this what? Forest Rights Act, which has given them recognition, given them some positive upliftment. And this you have made them equal by giving some upliftment, but your responsibility does not stop here. You are going to empower them. You're going to impart them skills. And this is where it is talking about focusing on empowerment, capacity building, and community-led governance. And lastly, integrate them with the PESA Act, that is Panchayat extension to the Scheduled Area Act, and ensuring democratic, decentralized, and culturally sensitive forest governance altogether. So these are something which has been there. Any question which has been asked by UPSC? Yes, very simple. At the national level, which ministry is the nodal agency to ensure effective implementation of Scheduled Tribes and other traditional forest dwellers recognition of Forest Rights Act of 2006? Again, whenever you're reading any act, you need to understand that again, I need to study also, it is coming under which ministry. Tell me in comment what is the answer of this particular question. Then one more question in 19. Few statements as per recent amendment. Again, then these two statements about the Forest Rights Act, that again it is recognizing bamboo as a minor forest produce. It is allowing ownership of minor forest produce to forest dwellers, right? Tell me what would be the right answer in the comment section. This report was released by what? UNDP. They can ask you, they can give the name of the report, and they can ask you this report has been released by which body, or basic facts around this. That is something how you are going to prepare for the examination. And this is something which you need to build yourself. We are here to guide you, right? And this process should organically come within you. That once I read a news, once I read a current event, I should automatically, my mind should automatically navigate that what kind of questions, what kind of mains question, prelims questions could be asked from this particular topic, right? Do this task, and trust me, I'm giving you a guarantee that again, if you give some time to analyze the newses, you're going to yourself predict what would be the expected questions in next state examination. Then we have the Parliamentary Committee are the backbones of parliamentary democracy in India. That has been discussed by our Honorable Lok Sabha Speaker. Again, a very important topic for your GS paper number 2 under the topic of Parliament, Parliamentary Committees. What are these Parliamentary Committees, sir? So basically, Parliamentary Committees, we have how many members of Parliament? 543 in case of Lok Sabha, 245 in case of Rajya Sabha. Summing them both are the members of Parliament. What is the task Parliament does? It is making law for us. and laws on different subjects, different domains which are mentioned other in the union list of the government. Sometimes law requires specialization, and that is where there is a provision of parliamentary committees which has been a helping hand to these legislators who are making law for us. Right? That's the importance of parliamentary committees, that they are assisting parliament or the members of parliament in that law making process by giving a specialized input. Right? And there are a lot of parliamentary committees, very, very, very important. Read all of them, read their composition. Again, who is the chairperson, members from which committee are both from Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, right? What are their functions? This is where UPSC asks questions from this topic in prelims examination. So let's look at what are the importance of this particular committee, parliamentary committees. Number one, in these committees, there are members not just from the ruling party government, but any member, opposition also. That is, of course, giving an idea again, once we are discussing a law, we are not seeing it only through the lens of the ruling party, but again, in a non-partisan manner by all different composite members of the parliament. Then we have, example is, MPs across parties has jointly reviewed the welfare of schemes for SC/STs. Then we have expertise. Many a times, because sometimes you see, cryptocurrency bill, it requires a very specialized knowledge to frame provisions of the bill. So that expertise has been given by these parliamentary committees. So bills are given to such committees with members who have some knowledge in that particular domain. For example, the Committee on Health has studied the surrogacy bill in detail in 2016. Then we have government watchdog, because many times if government is passing any law, right, so it is of course going to go through parliamentary committees, again a double check, and again also going to check that how exactly government are spending, right? For example, the Public Account Committee has flagged excess spending in the by ministers in 2024. It is also focusing on development. They are many times, because government many times in the course of governance, sometimes it slips out the mind of government that again there are some development programs which has to be done. This is where these committees again come back in picture. Example, the Committee on Rural Development has raised alarm over shrinking funds for Panchayati Raj. Lastly, they improve the law process, the law-making process altogether, because they suggest the changes which are supposed to be done in the bill before it actually becomes an act. For example, the draft of Data Protection Bill in 19 was revised after the committee inputs. This is why it is very important. So what kind of challenges this committee has been facing? Again, in the recent monsoon session of Parliament has seen a lot of disruption. The amount of days which the Parliament was in session was very less. In fact, half of the days were wasted, right, by maybe walking off or something like that. So this is where challenges with respect to committees has come up into picture. Number one is bills are not always sent to them. Technically, if a bill is being made, it is supposed to be sent to a committee in order to review the provisions, in order to see what kind of provisions are there. But it has been seen that in the last two Lok Sabha, 15th Lok Sabha, only 71% of bills were sent to the committee, and which has dropped down that in 17th Lok Sabha, just 16% of these bills were referred to parliamentary committee for their inputs. Then low attendance. In fact, if we talk about attendance in parliament, is of course gradually it has dropped down, but the committee members are also absent. So if there is no members present in the committee, how they can perform the task of review? Lastly, lack of experts. Again, as I discussed, cryptocurrency bill, artificial intelligence bill, parliamentaries required to have a knowledge on such technical domain subjects in order to make a law. So there are less expert member in these committees, which is one major challenge with respect to functioning or giving inputs to the government, which requires a very specialized knowledge. What suggestions has been given, which are there? In United Kingdom, we have a provision. We have borrowed the whole idea of parliamentary system of government from UK. So there has a provision that again, every bill has to pass or has to go to the parliamentary committee and is compulsory, which is not there in India. It could be done in India as well. Then the transparency has to be done, that again, if a bill has been sent to a committee and committee has suggested some changes, that changes, if government is not incorporating in the bill, that has to be disclosed to the public, so that the people of the country can also become aware that again this was something suggested by the committee, and again the government has not accepted those suggestions. That is going to make the process more transparent in nature, and of course build trust of people over the government. And lastly, again, experts, because members of parliament have many times they might not have expert knowledge on some technical subjects. So maybe in these committees you can incorporate few of the advisors or research staff or experts in specific domain, so that they can give input in this functioning of the committee in terms of making of bills. Then any question which has been asked by UPSC? Yes, sir. As I discussed, there are different committees of the parliament around which there are questions. So again, this was a question around a particular committee, and they have been asking, they have given what the committee does, and they are asking you to identify among all of these 4 committees, which committee does this particular task. Tell me in comment what is the answer of this particular question. Then the next topic, India and Japan has sealed multiple pacts and vision plan for next decade in the 15th India and Japan Annual Summit. Again, very important for GS paper number 3 and in general as well. With the whole idea of tariff war going on and US imposition of tariff, India has been diversifying its trade relations. India has been exploring its bilateral trade agreement, and with not only dependent on few countries, we have been exploring with China, we have explored with maybe the Eurasian countries, Russia, we have explored, we have FTA with signed with UK, right? So India has been exploring in order to shield its export sector with the tariff imposition by the US government. Right. So this is one major development. India-Japan ties has been great as of till now. We have been on a very good relations with Japan, and this is where the summit was there. And what were the outcomes, which we are going to discuss very briefly. Number one, Japan has promised to us that again it is going to invest 10 trillion yen in the Indian economy, which is approximately going to be 5.5 lakh crores. So such amount of investment, what impact it can create in the economy in terms of increase in number of factories, jobs, technology in India. Then it has also talked about in the next 10 years, they have identified 8 sectors in which we are going to work. So again, a plan for 8 years across economy, technology, security, mobility, and others. Then in terms of defense, because defense is very, very important sector, there are a lot of initiatives of India and Japan with respect to army, navy. We have military exercises, Dharma Guardian Army in GMX in case of navy, Shin-Yu Maitri in case of air force. So they have also told that again we are going to launch economic security initiative and expand defense cooperation. What is economic security initiative? With the growing influence of China in the region, we are going to create a safety net for us in terms that again we are not going to be affected by any of the regional countries, specifically China, when we talk about its impact in economy of both Japan as well as India. Then they're also talking about people exchange plans, because they have planned that again in the next 10 years we are going to have we are going to move 5 lakh people between India and Japan for work and study, and out of them 50,000 will be skilled semi-skilled Indian workers in the next 5 years. That is the vision for the next 10 years. Green growth and clean energy. Again, on the idea of climate change, on the idea of sustainable development, we have partnered. We have talked about clean hydrogen, ammonia fuels, wastewater management, which is of course going to help us jointly to fight towards the idea of climate change. Digital technology collaboration, we have again, because India is the whole idea of technology, growing influence of artificial intelligence, the Digital India mission, we have partnered And under the AI, India-Japan AI initiative under Digital Partnership 2.0, we are working on the emerging sectors of artificial intelligence, semiconductors, innovation, and there has been other major agreements in terms of joint work on space area, that is lunar exploration to explore the moon. We are going to jointly work towards that as well. And MOUs have been signed with respect to cultural exchanges and mineral resources cooperation as well. Because minerals are very important. If we're talking about artificial intelligence, if we're talking about semiconductors, if we're talking about, let's say, innovation, these require minerals, in fact, rare earth minerals. So again, research and understanding or maybe collaboration on that particular aspect has also been done. Then why it is very, very important? Because India-Japan relation, because the growing influence of China in the region, specifically the South China Sea, has led to dominance of China in that particular region. So again, if we are going to talk about Indo-Pacific, this is going to be a big step towards to counter China. Then strong defense ties. We have seen that again, we have a lot of military exercises, and this is again going to deepen the defense collaboration between India and Japan. Global cooperation, because we have been on same page when we talk about the reforms in United Nations Security Council. And again, we are jointly members in many of the multilateral organizations, for example, G-Quad, G20, G4. And lastly, it is going to boost India's industry. It's very simple. That again, through initiatives, of course, investment is there. It is going to help in terms of competitive partnership and small and medium enterprises, which is, of course, going to help India in the manufacturing sector. Since India is focusing on manufacturing sector as of now, this is going to give a very big boost in terms of this particular agreement of cooperation signed between India and Japan. Then any question around Japan? So again, till now, UPSC has not asked any particular question with respect to Japan in mains examination in the last decade. But Japan as a country could be there in prelims examination as well. For example, one question was there, which of the following countries are among the free trade partners of ASEAN? I think you know about the member countries of ASEAN, right? You know about what is the prime objective of ASEAN. We have discussed in our previous editions of News Today. By basic logic, I am giving you a guarantee. You can eliminate two countries from here and give me the right answer. Do this task, understand that again, even if I don't know, I know about the basic idea of ASEAN. That basic knowledge is, of course, going to help me down to solve this question. Because in examination of prelims, there would be few questions where I do not know the exact answer. But again, through elimination technique, I can come up with an answer with this. So this is where you're going to apply your logic. Apply and tell me in comment what is the answer of this particular question. Then quickly moving on to the quick updates and personality news. So Major Dhyan Chand was in news. Why? Because we celebrated National Sports Day on 29th of August, which is the birth anniversary of Major Dhyan Chand. And whenever we talk about hockey, his name automatically comes because he has done a lot in the sport of hockey. He is known as Hockey Wizard, the Magician. He has also served in British Indian Army as a sepoy. He had a key role in India's Olympic goals in 1928, 1932, 1936. Then he has also got Padma Vibhushan Award. The Khel Ratna Award has been renamed by this inspired personality. That is, it has been renamed as Major Dhyan Chandra Khel Ratna Award. Then in general, his personality included the ideas of or the values of perseverance, discipline, sportsmanship. Very important. Again, in prelims or in mains examination, there could be a question around the personality as well. That is why it is very important. Then moving on to the quick updates for the day. So Purple Notice, Enforcement Directorate of India has issued first issue of Purple Notice via Interpol. What is Interpol, sir? Interpol is basically an organization which is, or maybe a collaboration across police of all countries across the world in order to tackle the problem of crime. So they have been releasing different kind of colored notices. So recently they have issued a Purple Notice. What is it? And in fact, it has been issued by ED of India. What is Purple Notice, sir? Purple notice is basically shared, and it is sharing the idea of modus operandi, tools and devices and concealment methods used by criminals. Very simple, I'll give you an explanation. Let's say all of you must have watched that Money Heist web series, or many web series where again some big crimes are happening. So with the growing, let's say, emerging technology and everything there openly in across all platforms, the nature of crime has changed a lot. The method has changed a lot. Traditional methods are nowhere there. So this is something that again, if some crime has been identified by a particular police in any country, that they are seeing that something new nature of crime, some new method in the crime has been used. So this is being shared commonly across all of the police across the globe through this Interpol, so that everyone can become aware about this is a new nature, new method of crime which criminals are also using, which can help them to better tackle that particular crime. That has been the idea. So purple notice is basically a notice which is issued by Interpol in order to see what is a new method of crime which was used in any of the criminal act. There are a lot of colored, let's say, notices which are issued by Interpol. See them, and this could be maybe come in the form of as the following examination as well. Then we have State Energy Efficiency Index 2024 has highlighted the 4 states of Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh and Tripura that they are top performers in their respective groups. What exactly is energy efficiency? With the whole idea of climate change, with the whole idea of sustainability, energy has to be efficiently used. This is where this index has been released by Bureau of Energy Efficiency and Alliance for Energy Efficient Economy, because economy is of course going to be energy efficient. Whenever you are coming out of room, you need to switch on your ACs, your fans. That is how you can become energy. So again, all of the states are given credit, or maybe they are appreciated that how much efficient they are in terms of their energy consumption. That has been the idea. So the purpose, of course, here is to assess energy efficiency of 36 states and UTs of India on these 3 basic parameters. Again, going by the idea of what? Competitive federalism, right? So then basic categorization, that again front runners getting 60% marks, then again achievers, contenders, aspirants. That is why it was in news. How a question could be framed? They can ask you, consider the following statements regarding State Energy Efficiency Index, and they can give you 4 options. Select which are the correct. This is the nature of question which could be asked from these particular kind of topics. Then we have Karen and Kareni ethnic groups. They have been recognized very recently by Thailand government. Initially, they were refugees from Myanmar, and they were living, supports livelihood and dignity of the displaced community. So again, Thailand has granted these work rights to long-term of these ethnic groups of Myanmar. Basic, let's say, details that from where they are origin from. So the Karen group, they are prominently from Southeast Asian countries. Their origin is from Gobi Desert, Mongolia and Tibet. Major presence is there in Myanmar and Thailand. Or similarly for this Kareni group as well. So again, they can ask you, Karen and Kareni was in news. They are what? Ethnic groups of which region? They can ask you this kind of questions examination. Then we have Indian Ocean Naval Symposium. Again, these kind of bodies also sometimes comes up in news, right? That makes these topics important for examination. They can ask in prelims. Consider following statements regarding Indian Ocean Naval Symposium. So basically, we know about Indian Ocean region. There are a lot of small littoral states around Indian Ocean region. So again, this idea or this body was constituted by India, or specifically Indian Navy, in 2008 with the name of Maritime Cooperation among Navies of Indian Ocean Littoral States. All such countries in that Indian Ocean region which has been sharing its boundary with Indian Ocean, they are going to come together in this particular organization. It consists of 25 members and 9 observers. Eligibility, of course, is any country which has Indian Ocean as its border and has a Navy and Maritime Agency of its own. They are eligible to be there in this particular body. So the chairmanship is again rotated every 2 years. India is going to chair in the year 25-27. That was it was in news. So recently, emerging leaders panel discussion was held at Kochi under IONS. This was the news, not that important. But again, it made this body important for your examination. That is how you're going to see it. Whenever we read newspapers now, we read this kind of news and we ask ourselves, sir, what is the importance of this news? News is not that important, but again, some topic which is there in news, which makes such kind of themes important for your examination. Then we have Conocarpus trees. It was there. A recent Supreme Court has banned in terms of using or maybe growing of these kind of exotic tree varieties. So this is where, because that is why it was in news. So Supreme Court has recommended the ban of growing of these kind of trees because they are considering as an invasive species. We have discussed about invasive species who are not native to that particular environment. They come, they grow in such a great extent that they are creating harm for other indigenous species over there in terms of their food requirement, in terms of their development. It is again going to maybe degrade the biodiversity of the region where they come from, where they come into. That has been the idea. Many times you have seen that again they are exotic plants, that they are very beautifully seen. But again, they are creating a lot of problems in terms of being them as an invasive species to the native species of that particular region. So basic facts around that topic is very important, specifically on the topic of environment and ecology, right? So where they belong to, they are found in as two species variety, one in tropical America and West Africa, and other in Somalia, Yemen, Eastern and Northern African countries, Arabian Peninsula. So this is how basic facts, what we have discussed, is very, very important for your examination. So Supreme Court has banned growing of these kind of trees. Earlier it was already banned for states of Gujarat and Tamil Nadu. Then we have extradition request for fugitive offenders. Who are fugitive offenders? All of you know, maybe few personalities of course are there from India as well, so you must be knowing them. So some people who do any kind of crime in India, maybe that person is getting acquitted or accused or convicted, they go out of the country and they go to some other countries, and that's create a challenge for the government to extradite them or to bring them back in their respective country where they have committed the crime. We all know about Vijay Mallya, Nirav Modi, right? So these are the few instances where again extradition treaties are helping India to bring these fugitive offenders back to the country, which they have flown out to avoid the kind of legal punishment which they are supposed to be given. So we have two agreements. One is United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime, and United Nations Convention Against Corruption. Basic facts, please read them, but why they're constituted, when was they constituted, what is the aim, what is the objective. So under these two basic convention, India has invoked in order to extradite request for fugitive treaties. That was in news. These two bodies are very important for your prelims examination. Then we have Ranjit Sagar Dam. So again, with the growing incidences of floods, flash floods happening, so again, there have been breakage around a lot of dams. So recently, heavy discharge from the dam has caused floods at the Madhapur headworks. Indian Army has evacuated CRPF personnel and civilians from this particular Ranjit Sagar Dam. That is why it was in news. So basic facts, it is located for which river, what is the purpose, that has been the news. So again, they can ask you Ranjit Sagar Dam, and they can ask you place in news and why in news kind of questions from these kind of topic. Please locate them where they are. And again, what is the importance of dams, you already know for your examination. Then we have National Disaster Management Authority. So recently, our Honorable Prime Minister has nominated 2 members, and it has also renominated 3 members for 3-year term with respect to this particular body. So that makes, again, this news is not that important, but the body which was there in news is important for an examination. Again, both for prelims as well as for mains. So the NDMA comes under Prime Minister of India. It is an apex body for disaster management in India. It talks about it was established under a Disaster Management Act of 2005. So what kind of body it is? It is a kind of a statutory body, because this is a statute which is giving origin to this particular body. Basic vision, that again to make India disaster resilient, to frame policies, plans, guidelines for disaster management through a holistic approach, proactive planning, technology-driven strategies, sustainable development. Basic facts important for your prelims examination. So with this, we come to an end of today's News Today discussion. All important questions which could be framed from the topic of objective nature would be popping up in your screen. Now that you have understood the news, now that you have read the news, it is your responsibility now to solve these questions. That is, of course, going to give you a sense of confidence and completion that again I have read, I have revised, I have again solved the question. Please post your comments or your answers in the comment section, which is of course going to create a very competitive spirit around all students who are watching this initiative of News Today by Vision IS. Lastly, Vision IS has come up with a very good initiative of digital current affairs platform, which is a one-stop solution for current affairs in the examination of UPSC. Please go and explore that website. Of course, it is going to give you help you a lot in terms of current affairs preparation for the examination. So all the very best, keep on learning, and thank you so much.